This is my Unifi U6 Enterprise access point, but it's running half speed. So in this video, we're gonna fix it with this. Not the boy, the switch. The U6 Enterprise access point has been running for almost a year, a bit more I think now, but I've always had it connected with a 1 gigabit connection, which means it's not running full speed on the 2.5 gigabit on the local network at least, that it can. So this time, I'm gonna fix it with this that Christian's holding, which is I'm gonna have to read it out, the Switch Flex 2.5 gigabyte or G8, because it's got 8 ports, PoE, because it's got PoE. And this is one of those new 2.5 gigabit switches that Unifi has come out with, and I'm pretty darn excited actually to get it, to use it, because this can be PoE powered, and of course you can power it with a PoE adapter and power, etc. But it has 8 ports with PoE plus or plus plus, we'll get to all that. And I'm gonna use this to get 2.5 gigabit to that U6 Enterprise finally, but it requires a bit of finagling because of my current setup. But let's first get it out of the box, and then I'll explain how we're gonna solve that in a cupboard. Yeah. Okay, let's actually open the box, and for that I brought my special helper again because he's very good at opening boxes, I've been told. So, all right, so no, not like that, come on, open it up. This is what people wanna hear, ready? See? Perfect, I know. All right, what do we got in there? That's it. All right. Like that, okay. There's a little tab you pull on, it's very clever. I thought you were good at this. There we go, all right. So there's not much in the box as expected. There's some screws, sure. Opening up, there's a template for mounting it. We'll probably use that, I'll show you where. That is a wall template. I think that's what goes, that's for the mounting, yep. And this is the switch itself. So there's the 8 ports and the SFP, but I know someone wants to do this. What is it? Small things and using small minds? All right, very good. So this is the Flex 2.5 G8 PoE switch. I think I got that right. We have 8 PoE++ ports. I found something weird with the plus plus, but I'll get back to that. 8 PoE++ ports, if you power it correctly. There's a PoE in here, so we're gonna use that as well. And there's an SFP port here as well, if you want that for, what is that, 10 gigabit connections as well. And here's the input for DC power. So you can buy a power supply with it. It does not come with one, so, or you can use a PoE adapter. How much power you put into it is how much you get in each port, but I'll show you that when we get to the specs. So this is all we get. Just a switch, an amount, and some warranty information. So that's it, easy. All right, so here's the plan. I am now at the, well, half games cupboard, so board games, etc. is down here, but up here is my Switch Industrial, which I've had for a long time, years. Hasn't skipped a beat. I'm not gonna replace it, I'm gonna leave it there, but I am gonna enhance it, let's call it, with the 2.5 gig 8 port PoE Flex switch, which I'm going to place right here, sort of like there. That's the plan. Now, why am I doing that? Well, the industrial switch already has PoE++ on each port, but it's only 1 gigabit. So I'm gonna power this with the PoE++ from that industrial switch, and then the connection that normally goes to this is gonna go into here from my Pro Max 24 port PoE switch. You with me? So it's gonna be powered by the industrial switch. It's gonna get the 2.5 gig signal or connection from my Pro Max switch. And I hope that'll work. Otherwise we'll come up with plan B. But the reason I'm putting it in here is that this is running out of ports. I'm used about 7 out of the 8 or 9 ports that are available. on that switch, such as, for example, here is my SM Lite Zigbee PoE powered Zigbee coordinator / router. If you missed that, go and watch that video. It's linked there. And that is just one of the things that I actually have here. There's all the cables go up in the roof space here. So I want to enhance this area with 2.5 gig connections and possibly more PoE++ ports. And I can power it with PoE++. So that's the plan. So let's install it here, connect it, and then we'll look at some of the specs for this, because there's a few interesting points, quite a few actually. And then we'll jump into Unifi Network and see how it all works. So let's do that. The Flex Switch 2.5 gigabit 8 PoE is in. I did make a little boo-boo before when I explained what my intentions were, because I've done this before, forgot that the Pro Max 24 PoE actually provides PoE++ as well as a 2.5 gigabit connection. So that's what that is, right? So the switch is now powered by PoE, and it's got the connection from the Pro Max. And this cable here is the connection to get the old switch, the industrial switch, back on the network as well, because obviously I took that out of it. And this cable, which yes, I know I gotta redo this plug. You don't have to put it in the comment, even though I know you will. That is for the kitchen, the access point, the U6 Enterprise, which now also have 2.5 gigabit connection. Isn't that lovely? So that's all working. I'm going to show you in just a second how that looks in Unifi Network. But first I thought maybe now is a good time to click subscribe. Yes, this year, 2025, I have a goal of getting to 50,000 subscribers. And I think I can do it, but I'm going to need your help. I am. So if you enjoy the video, please consider subscribing, because it really, really helps me out. Or you can leave a comment, just not about that plug. Or you can give it a thumbs up, or check out the merch, or give it a super thanks, or whatever you can to support the channel. I'd really, really appreciate it. So thank you. Okay, let's go and look at all the specs for this, because there's one little thing I actually do need your help with that I don't quite understand. So we'll look at that, and then we'll look at Unifi Network and the features for what it does. Let's look at the specs, because there's a few things that are kind of curious and a few things that are kind of interesting, or both. All right, so this is the store page for the Flex 2.5G 8 PoE. Yes, that's what it's called. I didn't make it up. So as it says here, it is a flexible 8-port 2.5 gigabit PoE++ switch with a 10 gigabit RJ45 SFP plus combination uplink. So that's the one that I plugged in from the Pro Max. I plugged into the 10 gig uplink. So obviously I'm keeping it 2.5 gigs. So that's what it's getting. I don't have 10 gig to it yet. It might come later on. And then it says here, here's what I need your help with. That can be powered with a PoE+++ or an AC power adapter. What is PoE+++? I don't know. It's the first time I've seen it, other than as a joke. It also says here, under the specs here, we can get 76 watts of power in the switch with PoE+++ input, and then there's an asterisk, and the asterisk just says actual PoE availability may vary based on input cable length and quality. Sure. Where's PoE++ coming from? Please let me know in the comments. Is it just something that Unifi has made up, or is it an actual standard, or where does it come from? Let me know. In any case, I am powering it with PoE++, which is coming from my Pro Max 24. That means I get 46 watts of PoE availability. Not quite, because apparently maybe my cable's too long. But we'll look at that in just a second. Or you can get 196 watts of PoE availability with the optional AC power adapter. So if you need a lot of oomph, you need to power it with the AC adapter, not from another switch. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let me just scroll down a bit here. Here are some of the interesting bits. There are so many things that you can get for it as accessories. We have the AC adapter, so that's the one that you need if you want a lot of power, 196 watts. That's there. We can actually click on them as well. See the little picture? Isn't that lovely? We have the 10 gig PoE++ adapter. So that's if you need 10 gig throughput and you need PoE++ for a PoE adapter. You can get one of them. I haven't got one of them. I have a PoE++. We actually have 2 of those adapters, but I don't think they're 10 gig. Yeah, it also has surge, peak pulse, and overcurrent protection, which is nice. That's one of the benefits you get for PoE adapters in general, if they're good quality. You can also get the multi-mode optical module. You can get a 10 gig direct attached cable or an SFP cable, and you can actually mount it to a DIN rail like this. I see animation here. So like a standard DIN rail you can mount it to as well. So that's kind of neat. If you have those in like electrical boxes or wherever you find your DIN rails. And then there's the floating mount, which is the one that it comes with, I believe. Sleek magnetic wall mount. I'm not sure it's magnetic. I didn't test it, but it looks like the one that I just put on the wall in the cupboard. Right, let's scroll down to the tech specs. There's some pretty pictures here. But the tech specs, well, not for the floating mount. Tech specs for the Switch. There we go. So as you can see, it's not super heavy. And as in, it's wall mountable, kit included, or DIN rail mountable, sold separately. And then here again, there's 8 2.5 or 1 gigabit ports, RJ45, and then there's the 10 gig SFP plus. There's 8 60 watt PoE++ ports. So each port is able to give up to 60 watts if you have that much power going into it, right? So that's quite a lot, 60 watt of PoE power. The switching capacity is 60 gigabits, so that's pretty darn good for a small switch. And what else is interesting? Blah, blah, blah. We go down here, and then we have again power method, 1 PoE++ pair A, whatever that means. Again, I don't know what that is, and it says it again down here, PoE++++. I don't know. Please tell me. I'm really keen to know what this PoE++ is. I'm sure the comments will fill up with it. Maybe I missed it somewhere. The power consumption is actually quite a lot, I think, for a small switch. 14 watts with PoE input. That's more than I expected, but maybe I'm wrong. It's a layer 2 switch here. You can see layer 2 features, so it doesn't do layer 3 switching. Again, I don't know exactly the difference on when I should use one over the other. I understand what layer 2 and 3 is in the network stack. And then there's something about LEDs. Okay, so that's the spec. Now let's jump into Unifi Network. All right, so we are in Unifi Network now. And you can see I've adopted it into it. So there's the USW Flex 2.5G 8PoE is on there. It's 2.5 gigabit as the uplink because that comes from the primary 24 port max, which is there. And the more important thing that I wanted to fix, of course, is that now my kitchen access point, which is the Unifi U6 Enterprise, is on 2.5 gigabit as well, which should, when I have enough devices that can take advantage of that 6 gigahertz band that is on Wi-Fi 6E, should give me more throughput, of course, 2.5 gigabit, right? So that's the plan, because when you're going to get more and more devices that are going to use more and more bandwidth. Okay, right, before I get into the actual properties and features of it, let me just show you the topology so that you now understand how it's all linked up, because it's kind of neat. If you haven't played with the topology before for your Unifi Network, it's actually quite educational. So I have my, let me zoom in a bit here. There we go. So I have my Starlink here. That is the connection to my UDM SE, which is again connected to my 24 port max via 10 gigabit LAN cable or SFP. That is connected then now to the USW Flex 2.5G 8PoE. So that then powers the kitchen connects the kitchen and powers it, and also the lounge room switch, which is my industrial switch. Before, the kitchen was connected to that, right? And the lounge room switch has the carport connected to it, as well as Jordan's room, right? So it's really helpful to see all of how, the network, the topology of how all your devices are connected. I use it a fair bit to see what goes where. Now, it doesn't pick up everything because the UISP devices, such as your Gigabeam or your nano stations or my edge switch, those things are on UISP, not Unifi. So it's a different model range, which means they don't show up in here, which is why the gate just says gate. There's actually a nano station connected to that gate or to the switch there, as well as to the primary 24-port max, but it doesn't show that. So it's not perfect, but it gives you a really good idea. Anyway, let's go back to the switch. So I'm going to click on it here. And this, of course, shows you the ports at the top. So we have here, you can see we have the lounge room switch is connected to that. So that's the white patch cable that goes to the industrial switch. Then here is the kitchen AP or the Unifi U6E Enterprise. That is using downlink kitchen. It has 2,500 FDX, so it is 2.5 gigabit connection. Then a bunch of ports that aren't used. And here is my uplink to primary 24-port max switch, which is also 2.5 gigabit. Here we can see how much PoE power we are using out of how much is available. You can see we're using 13 watts out of 37. So we only have 37, even though, remember, over here it says you get 46 watts here for PoE++ input, but it's quite a long cable that is from the Pro Max 24 to this new switch. So the wattage has seemed to be dropping a bit. If I were to guess, I'd say it's about 30-meter cable, something like that. So we get 37 watts rated. I'm using 13.3, and that is what I wanted to show you in the port manager. You can see here that is the kitchen using 13.3 watts or so. It's really handy to see what the devices are using, I think, to try and estimate how much power you need. But those are the things that we have here. I could, of course, rename the ports if I wanted to. I do that in most switches, but I haven't done on this just yet. And it's the normal port overview. If you haven't seen this before, it comes with all switches. Okay, so that's the port manager. So let's go back to the switch here. Then we have which devices are connected, as you saw before. So these are which Unifi devices here. We have the lounge room switch and the kitchen access point. We have an IP address. Uptime has now been up for 3.5 hours since I plugged it in. And then we have the actual parent device of that, which is again the primary 24-port Pro Max. All right, let's go to the insights here. There's not much. We have something on the device, so that shows obviously what changes. It's had an update as I plugged it in. And are there any clients? No logs for connected clients. All right. And then there's some stats for usage of CPU and memory. I never really look at this, to be honest. The settings, however, we can give it a new name. I think I'm going to keep with this for just a minute. I haven't quite figured out what name it is because it's next to another lounge room switch. So which one do I call what? Anyway, of course, we can all write the IP settings and give it a static IP. I'm just going to use DHCP. That's fine. And then there are all the advanced settings. In this case, there's not that many because I'm using the global switch settings. But you could change the jumbo frames, the flow control, the spanning tree protocol to STP, which is that's the old version. No one really uses that. And then there's RSTP, which is a spanning tree protocol, which you can change if I don't want to, I can actually untick that and do that. But that's for all switches. And then you can manage the LED, and you could set up a device configuration if you had one for another device. But that is really it. There's not a ton of settings that you can fiddle with. It's a really simple switch to set up, obviously. It's reasonably priced. You get 8 ports of PoE++, and you get 2.5 gigabit. I can't really fault it so far. Now, I haven't really used it. Obviously, I've just unpacked it and shown it to you. But I think this is a winner. I can see lots of other places where I could use this to get 2.5 gigabit. If, and this is a big if there could be an outdoor utility case for this, I could use it in sheds and all sorts and get 2.5 gigabit internet or network in those places. Not internet, Starlink. No, that's not going to happen. So let me know what you think about this. This was my overview. I've set it up. I'm using it. It works beautifully. I have 2.5 gigabit to my kitchen access point. What would you use it for? Let me know in the comments. Is there something I've missed? Is there a question you have about it that I can answer? I'm going to keep using it. This is not a temporary install. I don't do that on this channel. So I'm going to keep using it where it is. I'm probably going to attach many more devices to it. And over time, and maybe I'll do an update at some point. Maybe it'll be the 2025 or 2026 Unifi Farm Network overview video thing. That might have something to do with it. But let me know in the comments. And please, as always, consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy the content so that I can make more, and give it a thumbs up, etc. All right. Now, next video, I have more Unifi goodness, and probably the video after that and the video after that, because there's so much cool stuff coming, especially one device that I'm really keen on testing out. But more on that later. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye. This is my U6 Enterprise access point, but it's running half speed. So in this video, we gotta fix it with this. We'll see. Okay.
That's like.
Okay,